So good afternoon, everyone. I would request my colleague Madhvi Joshi to welcome and start the workshop.
Very warm welcome to everyone from CEE and GAP for the teachers orientation program that we have organized today. This is to introduce this campaign called the Freedom to Breathe, which is being organized by through Blue Air and by GAP and CE in India, and of course in 3 other countries. So the campaign is simultaneously being organized in 4 countries to look at the aspect of how air quality affects children and how children can actually assert their rights about the importance of clean air. So this is basically what this campaign is about: getting children to make their voice heard and influence how clean air becomes a priority for life. So that's something that we were very, very happy to join hands with GAP and Blue Air for. And this is the first of the workshops that we're doing with all of you, and would like to welcome all of you to this afternoon, and we look forward to engaging with you through the next 1 hour. So the way we have planned the afternoon is the first initial 20 minutes would be about the campaign and describing what the campaign is about, and then about how you would implement it in school, followed by an interactive discussions answering your questions and any doubts you would have. So the first session, as I said, is about the campaign. And basically, as I said, that it talks about the clean air as a right, of children, and they deserve to breathe clean air. So this is basically the mantra, as you might say. So this is a 13-year-old student from Delhi. We had done some focus group discussions earlier to organizing and planning the entire campaign. And
our school is on a traffic-heavy main road in central London. Walking around, the air feels and looks dirty.
Children are more vulnerable to air pollution because our lungs are underdeveloped and our immune system is weaker.
The more you go downtown, the more you get small. It's pretty bad. When I can see the West Hill in Beijing from the playground, I know the air is clear.
It isn't fair that some children have more clean air than others.
Everyone has a right to breathe clean air. Children don't deserve to live in a polluted environment.
Seeing as we are kids, we actually do have the power, as lots of people listen to kids.
We need to add our right to clean air to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Children around the world need clean air.
So this must have given you a brief idea about what the campaign is about, and we're focusing on on schools in Delhi. And let me now welcome Hannah Batra. She's Senior Manager, Clean Air for Children at Global Action Plan, London, UK. And thank you, Hannah, for joining us for this workshop. And before joining GAP, she's worked as education coordinator, head of education services and affinity, water for over 16 years. She has done masters in arts and geography education, and also has a degree related to geography teacher education. It's been a pleasure interacting with Hannah during the entire planning of the campaign, and I welcome you everybody to this engaging workshop. I'm sure it's going to be. And welcome again, Hannah. Over to you.
Thanks, Madhavi, and thanks for such a warm welcome. And likewise, it's been fantastic working with CEE over the last few months. Welcome, everyone, and thanks so much for joining today. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what the programme is about and how it's kind of working and coordinating all over the world, just so that you have an idea of that kind of bigger picture. So I'm just going to share my screen, if you just bear with me one moment. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? Great.
Yes.
So Freedom to Breathe, the campaign, as Madhavi has already mentioned, is obviously working with young people to call on their right to clean air. So we're aiming to gather the support of 20,000 children from 4 target cities. And in the first year, we're starting with Beijing, Delhi, London and Los Angeles, and hoping to kind of work with more cities and more children in the future. But this is the first year of the programme. And the idea is to call on the UN to acknowledge children's right to clean air. At the moment, that's not explicitly stated as a child's right in the same way that things like access to clean water or education or other children's rights are stated. And that's something that we feel should be acknowledged and elevated, because it's such a fundamental, life resource. Within the campaign, what we'd like the children to be really front and centre, and for them to then have the opportunity to join a virtual event in November to actually hear that response from the UN. So really kind of elevating their voices, but also giving them the opportunity to feel part of something bigger with the other children from the other 3 cities, and also hearing that response from the United Nations. So why this programme? So air quality, or poor air quality, has really serious risks to children's health and development, and particularly so with children, because obviously they're still growing and they're still developing, so it affects them a lot more than it does adults. Their lungs are still developing, their bodies are still developing, and quite often they're at the kind of height of the sources of pollution. So for example, if they're walking down a road, they're quite often at the sort of lower height, nearer those exhausts, from cars, that kind of thing. And it's not currently, as I mentioned already, defined on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. But the issue is that it's actually about 93% of children around the world are breathing in toxins that exceed safe levels. And that obviously poses a serious risk to their health and their development, to their educational attainment, and obviously their sort of future health and well-being. So we feel that access to that clean air is vital for children to live long and happy and healthy lives, and to obviously realise their full potential in every aspect of their life, whether that's their education or their future careers and all of those other things. So we'd really like to change that, and to work with children and young people to empower them to sort of elevate their voices around this issue. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the focus groups that Madhavi referenced earlier, we did some focus groups and we did some research in the different countries. And what we found was that in India, about 32% of young people actually say that air pollution stops them playing outside. So, a third of young people are in India, I feel that that's quite high, that they're not able to play outside because they feel that they can't breathe properly when they do so. There were some more quotes here from some of the children in India, some of the things that they were saying in the focus groups, which is children don't deserve to live in a polluted environment, and absolutely they don't deserve to live in a polluted environment. So how is the campaign going to work? What we've got in terms of the campaign is the Children's Voices and the Education Programme, with kind of 20,000 children from these 4 countries, and that's obviously where yourselves as educators, teachers, etc. comes in, making sure that the children have a really meaningful experience, they really understand the issues, and that they know what they're calling for. So it's an informed choice and an informed decision, and working with those other adults to support and help elevate and to help empower them. So to support those children, what we're looking to do, just to give you some sort of context, is we've got a white paper, which is essentially a credible evidence base. So pulling together research from different academics about the health issues and the various other sort of physical and mental health issues that are a result of air pollution on children. and then working with academics, businesses and civil society organisations who want to support that children's call, and provide support by signing a joint letter to the United Nations to say, yes, we do actually support the voices of these young people. And then in November, I mentioned already that we'd like to have a child-led sort of virtual event that would be supported by this coalition, but really with the children sort of front and centre. And, you know, communications is just on there, because obviously that will underpin all of this to make sure that we're kind of communicating around that. And I'll tell you one little piece that might be useful for you to kind of follow moving forward. So how we're working, we mentioned already that there's some different delivery partners. So we've got Coalition for Clean Air in Los Angeles, obviously Centre for Environment Education in Delhi, Safe Kids in China, and Global Action Plan, that's me, in London. And those four NGOs across the 4 countries all have kind of different expertise and experience with working on, you know, on these issues, working with young people, really working to sort of empower young people across the world to raise issues around sort of environmental issues and other issues as well. So just to give you a bit of context about Global Action Plan, so we're a UK-based charity and we're working for a green and thriving planet, and really working to kind of do things that are good for the planet, which are also good for people. In terms of our work on air quality, we're the people behind Clean Air Day, which is a big celebration which happens in June every year in the UK. And it really aims to kind of improve public understanding on air pollution, increase public backing for air pollution measures. So whether that's, you know, changing the targets within certain cities, or putting in other measures like implementing measures within schools, and also mobilizing action. So really getting people and communities and school children and adults and, you know, civil society organizations to work together to really address this critical issue. So just in a little bit more about the campaign in terms of how that works. Just to highlight to you, we've got this website called freedomtobreathe.support/now, and I'm sure the team at CEE will be giving you much more information about that, so don't worry about scribbling that down just yet. But that will be where you register the call for the young people. So there's a really simple form on there that just where you would need to input teacher's name, email address, and the number of children who want to support this call. So it won't be individual children's names, but just the numbers. There's also, just to flag, that we're going to be kind of doing some activation through Twitter, and the Twitter handle is @join_FTB. And basically the activation through Twitter is a place to help kind of bring together that content and share some of the things that the young people are saying, sharing some of the research from the various kind of organizations, and just a couple of examples here of some of the things.
Thank you, Hannah. Over to Preeti.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhavan and Hannah, for giving an overview of the campaign. So with this, we have got some understanding about what is this campaign all about, and we have been writing to teachers who are in Delhi talking about this campaign. So there is, like, everyone has some idea about the campaign. So here in this workshop, we will be giving you some more insight of how this campaign is planned, how you will take this campaign in your school, and how are you going to engage students in this campaign. So to start with, we are now taking you through how this campaign is going to be implemented in your school. So just before we get into details, I'm just giving you an overall process of how FTB campaign will be run. So first thing which you need to decide is on what approach you want to take in your school, depending on, because due to COVID, a lot of schools are not open yet, and they have like different mode of working with school children. So what we are suggesting, we are not giving a very a specific way of taking this campaign up. So we are leaving up to you, and there is you have a lot of freedom in this to how you want to take this, adopt an approach to reach out to children and engage them in this campaign. So first one is selection of approach, where we are saying that you can either work with your children whom you are teaching through a lesson plan, conducting a lesson plan and orientation with children. Second approach is doing through assembly, because there are a lot of schools who conduct assembly. So being air pollution being a very important topic, you could also follow approach of assembly and try and see that more and more children get engaged and are like sensitized about this, and they know that they can raise their voice for clean air. Second is like after you have selected your approach, you need to conduct an orientation session. So if you have decided to work in, say, in the classrooms, then you can conduct an orientation session at the class level, or if you are doing through assembly, you can conduct orientation for the larger group of children through assembly. Third step is like after you have conducted the orientation session, there are certain activities suggested to like after we have given the orientation, children are given certain ideas to take up few activities which they can very well take it at home. So there are suggestions like they can take up individual activities as well as they can work in team. So as teacher, you are basically during the curriculum, you assign a lot of things which are like project-based assignments. There are something like thematic assignments. So you could decide in what way you want to get your students participate in this campaign. Next step is like after they have participated, there are either submissions or presentations done by students. So you could decide whether you want to get the submission of the activities they have done, or you could engage everyone again and see what children have understood and what they want to say about air pollution issues. And the final step is after all the activities have been done, you need to report. Reporting needs to be done by teachers. As Hannah showed, that there is a website where you need to mention how many children you have engaged in this campaign. So this is in a brief about the process we will follow for running this campaign at your school. So going into more detail, like I mentioned about approach and orientation. So there we will be providing you with these three things which will help you to run this campaign in your school. So we are aiming at class 5 to 8 for this particular campaign. So we have two sets of lesson plans which can be done in the classroom sessions. So lesson plan for classes 5th and 6th, and lesson plans for classes 7th and 8th. Then there is a separate presentation for assembly session which is giving an orientation and inviting them to submit their entries based in terms of a creativity. So these are the three approaches and orientation materials we will be providing you after this workshop, and you will be also able to access them to the website link we will provide you. So this is both available on the website as well as we will be mailing you after this workshop. So now what the material we are giving you, these are all online educational resources and you need to use them to conduct orientation sessions. So we thought it would be a good idea to give you basically a key tips and points in what way you could use this online educational resource. So I would be requesting my colleague Aishwarya to actually share how this orientation session can be done with children and what are the few tips which you should keep in mind when you are using these resources. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Preeti ma'am, and a very good afternoon to all the teachers. We have over 70 teachers. That's wonderful, and thank you so much for being here today. And as Preeti ma'am said, for the next 30 minutes, we'll be taking you through the online education material and how teachers, you can use this material to conduct an orientation session for your students. So this orientation session, this next 30 minutes is going to be quite important because we'll be sharing some ideas and suggestions on how you can facilitate this session in your classroom. So this orientation session for students has 3 parts. So the first part, we will be introducing to students about the FTB campaign, what is FTB camp, what is Freedom to Breathe campaign and what it aims to do. We'll also be talking to students about about what air pollution is and what are the different sources of air pollution. And we'll be specifically talking about the impacts of air pollution on human health with a specificity on how it impacts children's health. Then we'll also, in the first part, we'll also be introducing to students about the state of air quality in their current city, which is in this case Delhi, and how the state of air quality in Delhi compares with other campaign cities. We already know that Hannah had mentioned about the other campaign cities, which is Los Angeles, London, and Beijing. So how air quality in all these 4 cities, how it looks like. And we will also be suggesting some very simple ideas that students can take up to how to minimize their exposure to air quality and how they can also keep air clean. So we will also be sharing some ideas with students on this. And the second part of the student orientation session will be that introducing students to various activities. Just a while ago, Preeti ma'am mentioned that we are focusing on grades 5 to 8, and what are some of the activities, very simple activities that students can take up while they are at home to sort of find solutions to tackle air pollution while they are at home. And the last part of the orientation session for students will specifically this forms the crux of this entire campaign, is teachers, you will be helping students understand how they can claim their right to clean air by actually understanding what United Nations Convention on Rights to the Child means. So as I mentioned, the first part of the student orientation session will start with an introduction to what the campaign, Freedom to Breathe campaign, is about. Teachers, please keep in mind that there are 3 specific points that students have to understand in this. The first is, of course, students have to understand why it's important to breathe clean air and how they can, in their daily life, minimize their exposure. That's the first point that students have to understand from this. And the second is that I just mentioned about how students can be empowered to claim their right to clean air. And this United Nations Convention, that might be a very new thing for students. So we'll have to, teachers, please do, talk a little bit about that to students. We will be talking about that later towards the end of the session. And the third thing is, again, what are the campaign cities? What does air quality in Delhi look like, and how it compares with the other 3 campaign cities? So these are the 3 things that should come out that students must understand in this session, in this part. And here, what are the things? So this is a question that teachers, you have to ask students. From students, we have to understand what they think is needed to live a healthy and happy life. So students should be sharing their answers for this. So actually, there will be a pause point. You will be able to see a pause point in the earlier slide. There should be a pause point that's coming up. Every time the question has a pause point, it means that the question will be accompanied by a 30-second timer, which means that students must be given 30 seconds to answer a question. So within that 30 seconds, students must give an answer for that. And teachers, how do you want your students to give you an answer? Maybe they can share their answers on chat, or they can write it on a piece of paper, or they can unmute their audio and speak. It depends on what online platform you use. So every time you see this timer, it means that students must be given 30 seconds to answer that question. So here we have already put in some answer for that question, assuming that these are some answers that students might give. I'm sure our students will come up with a lot more interesting answers. So you can include that also in your discussion while we are talking about this. So now that we have gotten announced, teachers, you would have received a lot of answers, interesting answers from your students. Now, please ask students what they think about clean air. Do they think clean air is also very important for them to lead a healthy and happy life? That should come out of this, because students must understand that clean air is very, very crucial to our lives, that we keep we constantly breathe while we are playing, while we're eating, while we're sleeping. We constantly breathe, and it's important for students to understand that clean air is crucial, but sometimes the air is polluted. So in this particular section, please make sure, teachers, that you ask students what they know about air pollution and what they think pollutes air around them. It's important for students it's important for us to understand from students what they already know about air pollution. So here, there are a couple of things that we need to keep in mind while we're asking students. First thing is we have to tell students that air pollution exists everywhere. Like air pollution is in the air that we breathe. Most of the times it's not visible to our eyes, right? Like because these air pollutions, the particles, the pollutants are very, very tiny that sometimes we don't even realize that we are inhaling polluted air. And also when we inhale this polluted air, it can be extremely detrimental to our health. So the pollutants are really, really tiny. It can be tinier than a grain of sand or even the width of a human hair. So in this particular section, we'll have to mention to students very clearly that, air pollution, we can't, most of the times it's invisible, we can't see it. And when we inhale polluted air, it can be extremely damaging to our physical and also our mental health. So in this slide specifically, we'll be speaking about what are some of the things that contribute to air pollution. Of course, we live in our daily lives. We do a lot of things. We are surrounded by so many things, and so many things can contribute to air pollution. From students, we would like to understand what contributes to air pollution. In this, you have all these things, pointers coming one after the other. So here, teachers ask students for each of the points mentioned here. Do students think books contribute to air pollution? So for each of these things, students you should ask students what they think. Do they think cooking contributes to air pollution or not? Do they think factories contribute to air pollution or not? And students' answer must come in the format of yes or no. Students must give for each and every point mentioned here. Students must say whether it contributes to air pollution or not in a yes or no format. So next, we are looking at the sources of air pollution. Now that students, in the previous slide, we have seen how, students will, share their answers on what they think contributes to air pollution. Here specifically, we will be asking students about indoor and outdoor air pollution. Again, here, what students think, what indoor pollution is caused by things like, and outdoor air pollution is caused by things like, and students can share their answers in this section. Here, teachers, there are 4 important things that we need to focus when you're speaking about indoor air pollution. The first thing is often there is this understanding that, when we go out, when we step out, we often feel that, the air is polluted. But a lot of times when we are sitting at home, when we are indoors, we think that the air is not polluted, but in so many ways, even while we are at home, while we think that we are in a very protected space, we are in so many ways inhaling polluted air. So that should come out of this part very clearly. And there are 4 things that students need to understand from this. The first thing is indoor air pollution is caused while we are cooking, and also chemicals in cleaning products and personal care products that actually it was very surprising for me also while I was reading this, that, this is often, we don't know, or it's often overlooked, that air pollution can be caused through chemicals in personal care products, cleaning products, and also a lot of craft and art materials that students use. And also indoor air pollution also can be caused by dust and mold at home. And another thing also, that from cigarettes and incense sticks can also pollute the air when we are at home. So these 4 things that are highlighted here must be told to students very clearly, so that they understand that these 4 things cause indoor air pollution. And similarly, for outdoor air pollution, here you see again there are 4 major contributors that we have mentioned here. Of course, one is very, very common that we all know, that is from vehicle exhaust, the pollution that comes from vehicle exhaust. And the second thing is also factories and power plants that cause immense pollution. And the third thing is very common in Delhi, this agricultural practices, specifically stubble burning, that causes tremendous pollution in the city, and also the usage of fertilizers and pesticides. And the 4th thing that we see, unfortunately, that we see very often is also burning waste. So all these 4 things that are highlighted here must be explained to students very well, and students must understand this very, very clearly, that these are some of the major contributors of outdoor air pollution. Here, this is another question where we need to understand from students if they think air pollution affects them. And if they think yes, and they have to tell us why they think it affects them. them, and we'll have to get answers from students. And again, as I said, actually the pause point is missing in the material that you will receive. Most questions will have a pause point on the bottom left of the screen. So every time you see a question with a pause point bar, it will be accompanied by a 30-second timer, which means that students must be given 30 seconds to answer that question. So here we are talking to students about how air pollution affects their health. Often most students or most of us know very clearly that we are inhaling air and it directly affects our lungs. But also air pollution affects our brain and heart. It can affect our children's learning ability, and it can also continued exposure to air pollution can have really damaging effects to the heart as well. So these three, lungs, brain and heart, these three organs are affected to continued exposure of air pollution. This should come out students should be able to understand this from this particular section. So here, as we spoke initially also, that this is a place where students understand about air pollution in the city that they live in Delhi. So in this slide, if you see, we have given some points on Delhi's air quality level. Here it mentions that Delhi's air quality level is 10 times worse the acceptable standards, and more than 4.4 million children in Delhi have poor or restrictive lungs. So these are some of the points that we have mentioned, particularly in Delhi. So here we have also given additional information for you teachers. So we have covered some of the key points in this particular slide. But if you think that you would like to share more information with your students, you can please feel free to look at the notes section. We have included additional information for you. You can refer to them while you are conducting this orientation session with your students. So here we are comparing the PM particulate matter 2.5 levels across these 4 campaign cities. And if you see, Delhi has, this data is taken from 2019, just before COVID. Delhi's air quality level is 98.6 micrograms. So if you see that the safe limit is only 10 micrograms per 1 cubic meter of air. If you see that Delhi is way beyond, it's just the pollution levels in Delhi are way higher than the safety limit. So again, in this also, in every slide you will have, in the notes section, you will have a detailed description of what are the other things, links to other materials. So please use it in your orientation session for students. So here in this particular thing, as we already in our initial slides, we also saw how we reiterated the fact that often air pollution is invisible to our eyes. So that is explained here very clearly. So students have to understand how tiny particulates, specifically with particulate matter, how tiny particulate matter is. PM10 is 10 times smaller than a grain of sand, and PM2.5 is 45 times smaller than a grain of sand. So students, please, teachers, reiterate to your students that these particles are really tiny, that we can't even see, and this is a visual representation of how it looks like. You can see how a grain of sand and the width of human hair looks like in comparison to particulate matter 10 and particulate matter 2.5. It's that tiny. So it's important that students understand that it's really invisible and we are still inhaling polluted air. So here we have also, teachers, please mention to students some of the examples of particulate matter 10 and how specifically what effects it has on their health. And again, on PM 2.5, we have given some examples. So students know what PM 10 and what PM 2.5 is and how it can actually, how specifically it affects their health. So here we need to, teachers, you have to ask students what they have, that everybody has a responsibility. Everybody can contribute to keeping the air clean. So here specifically, please ask students what they can do, or looking at probably last 1 week or 3 days, what are some of the actions that they could have done differently in order to keep their air clean. Or you can also ask students that if they are already taking some actions, to minimize their exposure, or what are some of the steps that students are taking to keep the air clean. So the pause point that I had mentioned earlier, finally it's appearing on this slide. So teachers, again, why I'm stressing on this is because you will see in the educational material that we are going to share with you, you will see this coming up. So the pause point that you see on the left, on the bottom left of your screen, that will always be accompanied with a 30-second timer. But for the purpose of this workshop, to keep it concise, we have not included the timers. But in your educational material, every time you see a pause point, please give students 30 seconds time for them to answer. So through this slide, students should understand what they can do differently. Probably at home, while they are at home, can they keep the windows open when cooking is happening, or can they switch to a much more eco-friendly products? It can be personal care products, or generally household products. What are some of the things that they can do at home? These are very, very simple things that students can take up at home, and also that is at home, and this is like while they are stepping out of their house. What can they do? What are some of the things that they can do? Can they walk? Can they cycle? Or can they carpool with their friends? Or how can they talk to their parents and friends and create awareness to them? So these are some of the things that students can do in their day-to-day life. And now the next session is going to be how to conduct these activities in their classroom, and how you can help students take up these activities. So I hand over the session to Preeti ma'am. Over to you,
Yeah.
Preeti ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Aishwarya, for very nicely briefing teachers how to use the first part of the orientation session and online material which we will be giving them. So second, after we have given a brief orientation about what air pollution is and how air pollution affects us, now comes after understanding the entire thing, we engage them in some activities to give some time to also think about what they have understood or what they have learned during this discussion in the classroom. So what I have explained you that there are two set of material which we have developed for classes 5 to 6 and 7 to 8. So for each of the class, for each of the groups, we have developed two activities each, where one activity is common in both the sections, while one activity is specific to those standards. So these could be done. So there are overall 3 activities suggested which can be done by classes 5 to 8. So it is up to you. You want to like if you are teaching some classes or maybe involved in all these classes, so you could decide how you want to do. Then there is a common activity which we are suggesting in assembly session as well, and also for these classes. So which is creative expression, somebody submitting their entries for as an overall air pollution freedom to breathe campaign. So this is how we have planned it. So I'll just take you through what are these activities and how this could be done with your children. While during the orientation session, you can explain them, and then afterwards they can take up those activities individually as well as in group. So the question starts, like we can start with asking, like after we have talked about what personal action they could take, but then we need to ask like what can at individual level, then at group level, and then how everyone can be like responsive to this like where the cleaner air can be ensured. So first activity, as I mentioned, for class 5th and 6th group, we have suggested that weave your own story. So we have developed few picture cards which can be used by teacher, showing them during this session, and showing them and briefing them that what they need to do, explain the activity during the session, that they need to refer to these picture cards, and then use their imagination and create a story around that, and also give them some idea that what they can include in a story. So this way they will be doing exercise which can very easily be taken up by a language teacher or maybe arts teacher. So this could be a very interesting thing. And because anyway, like there are different subject linkages here, so this activity could be done. So you could see these pictures, which we will be also providing you as a Word document, which you can share over WhatsApp or over email or whatever platform you're using to reach out to children. So we will be giving you, apart from these presentations, we will be giving you Word documents as well as PDF documents to which you can easily share with children, and use them for conducting these activities. So these are the 6 picture cards which children can refer to and write, weave their own story, and after looking at these pictures. So it is like using creativity, creative imagination, children will do this activity. This second activity is for group class 7th and 8th, which is like looking at and debating about what could be the solution to this. So because solution is not easy, like when we do it individually it is fine, but when we go see thoda, a bigger picture, there are lot of things we need to consider while looking at this. And at class 7th and 8th, we really want them to look at problem solving skills. So here we provide that opportunity after understanding the entire situation of air pollution and how it affects us, and how it is going to impact and how it compares with other part of the world. So they need to look at what action they could find. So through this activity, we are giving them an idea like what are the different ways through which decision or solution could be influenced. So these are certain things which you could talk about in the classroom, which they usually study in, say, economics, in mathematics, in social science, and even different subjects we refer to. So they could look at how these things can be actually thought about when we are thinking about the solution. So this is a kind of group activity which we have suggested, where you could form groups after the orientation session, and each group could take one topic and then do this. So we have suggested here how you could announce this activity with the children. So how group could be formed, what way they could work it together and create a discussion, and then how they are going to present it. So it could be through a presentation, through a debate, or a skit. So we are trying to say that they are looking at like solution oriented thinking. So not only knowing about the problem, but also thinking about what could be the solution to this bigger problem. Third activity, which is common to class 5th, 6th group and 7th, 8th, which is create a vision of your clean air school and neighborhood. So we have kept neighborhood as well, because children are at home and they have not gone to school for last 2 years. So it will be difficult for them to maybe vision how they want their clean air school. So there are 2 options for children to decide. You can tell them that whether if they can create a vision for their school or neighborhood. So here there are instructions given, and here you could lead a little discussion on what is vision all about. So vision is like, what do we want to happen? So and we also emphasizing that students' voice has a power to real change. So this vision exercise give them that opportunity. So you will use this activity to trigger a discussion that what all we should have in our own surrounding, what all change we can bring. So this activity brings that opportunity. These are the few questions which you could discuss during the orientation session, which will give them idea like in what way they should think while they are visualizing or making a vision for their school or neighborhood. So these questions you can discuss during the session while explaining the activity. And then these are the few ideas of how these are the outline of a school and outline of a neighborhood, which they can color it, draw it. And this will be also provided to you as a separate document, which you could share with children for reference. They can use their own imagination, draw their own picture, because they have their own neighborhood, they have their own school campus. So they could draw it in that way. Here, this is just for sample reference for your reference to explain to children how they could draw a vision. So here you can see one sample from a school where a child has drawn a vision for their school, how a clean air school should look like. So here you can share a few ideas that after they have submitted their entries of the vision picture, so you could share those pictures on your social media handle. You could share during the assembly if like online assemblies are happening, or it could be displayed on notice board once a school opens. So this is a very interesting opportunity for school to showcase what children think about how clean air can be, clean air vision could be adopted for their own school or neighborhood. After this, like after explaining the activity, we come to the next part, which is about how all of us can work together for having a cleaner air. So let children, we need to ask them to think about how else we can help in making sure. So now we come up on the, Hannah has mentioned that this entire campaign is looking at getting children's voice on that they have right for clean air. So rights, what are rights, we need to explain to children, because they might not be aware. Maybe in civil civics, they read about little bit about rights, but here we can explain to them through these slides in very easy way that what are these rights. So we can recall what first slide we showed you, that what we need to live a happy and healthy life. So we are talking about here need, and we can refer again here and clean water, food, sleep. So we could go back to the first thing which we have done during the session, and then referred this again while discussing about the rights. So here we mentioned about needs. So here you can bring in a discussion on what are our needs and what are our wants, and what is the difference between needs and wants. So this could be explained to children in a very simple way, that what are our needs and what are our wants. And then we can use few example and bring the discussion whether clean air is a need or a want. So children would be able to understand what as a, like, if they want to live a happy and healthy life, clean air is something which is very important, and they need to have it, and they need to raise their voice for it. So that is what United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child says, that every child should have access to hospitals, clean water, healthy food, and good and clean environment. So this we can explain to children through this, like what are the rights of children for living a happy and healthy life. So taking from this ahead, and as part of this campaign, we need to ask children like what they think about this. Do they agree to this, that they should have a clean air right? And then we can share that there are other voices of children which are being gathered from different cities which are polluted, and how this could be like made. This campaign aims to reach out to children and get their voices heard. And then we share with them that there is going to be an event where children voices are shared with the UN, and for that they can express themselves creatively using various methods. So we could invite, apart from those activities, you could invite children who are good at writing, creative expression, who could do good photographies, videos. So these could be invited from children, and this could be any classes. So it's not mandatory that you only focus on class 5 to 8. You could announce this in your school, and children can submit. If you're doing assembly session, it would be best that you announce that they can submit their creative entries either in form of stories or form of songs, or artwork or videos or photography. So this could be done by children as part of this campaign. So now I'll again go to Aishwarya to explain how to run this campaign, because we have briefed what are the process and the steps, and now what is the educational material, and now how you are going, like after understanding this, how you are going to run this campaign in your school. Yeah, Aishwarya.
So now we have seen in detail about, what are the various educational materials, what activities. So as teachers, you might have questions on, I know the materials look like this and these are the activities that I have to do, but how do I run this entire campaign? Where do I start? How do I go about it? So teachers, you have to engage a minimum of 200 students from any of your classes, or from classes 5 to 8. So we'll need minimum 200 students to take part in this campaign. And once you have chosen the 200 students, so the first step is, of course, to conduct an online orientation session for your students. And we anticipate that session should not take over 40 to 50 minutes. That is what we have anticipated. But based on your classroom requirement and class strength, you can see how you want to, how you want to, facilitate that session and how long that will take. And once the orientation session is over, once you have finished conducting the orientation session in your school, the next is the follow-up activities. As Preeti ma'am gave, a couple of activities that we have to do for 5th and 6th and for 7th and 8th. We students will take up these activities while they are at home. We anticipate that students can take anywhere between 2 or 3 days, but again, teachers, based on students' time, based on their availability and, other work, you can, modify the duration of this task based on your classroom requirements. And once students have completed, once they have taken up the activities, and once they have finished it, now comes to the submission of selected creative entries. We just saw that the entries can be in the form of stories, poetries, anything that students like to do. So these have to be submitted, and teachers, you will have to prepare a short report on the various campaign activities that students have done. You can include a lot of pictures in your report, and And the final one is also submission of total number of students. This is a very, very important part of the campaign, because we are going to bring together, students from all the 4 campaign cities. So we'll need to know how many students from Delhi are taking part in this campaign. So students definitely, they are going to benefit a lot by understanding about air pollution, to learning, how they can protect themselves from, air pollution. Over and above that, there are a lot of benefits in this program. The first thing is, of course, all schools and teachers will receive an e-certificate for their participation in this campaign. And for for the best entries by students will be acknowledged with an e-certificate. And the schools and the students will be a part of the global virtual event that's going to take place in November this year. So that itself will raise the profile of your school, because you will be getting to meet schools from all the 4 campaign cities, and that is definitely going to be a big boost and for the school, because you will be a part of a global school network. And of course, now that teachers, we have your email IDs, we know your school, so we will be sharing our workshops and our programs with you, the program specifically that we do at CE, so that we'd love to have your school take part in our other programs and workshops. So that is something that we are definitely looking forward to as well.
So this is the website which we will provide the link to you. You need to visit, and Hannah also mentioned that you need to mention how support every child's right to clean air. So here you need to mention name of teacher, your email ID, name of the school, and number of children in your class or school who want to support the call. So you need to mention the number here, then postal code of the school, the location of your school, and the country. And then select yes, and I confirm that this is what the participation is from my school is. So this could be filled once. This is the website we were mentioning, that you need to get your children's voices covered under this website. So this is the way we will see that how 20,000 children are participating in this campaign. Will be we will have all the numbers here, and we can convince UN to say that children are asking for clean air, and then we should have their voices heard.